Welcome to Hindsight, the podcast, where bold stories and honest reflections meet real growth. I'm Lee Jones, your host, and every week I sit down with incredible people who turn life's turning points into powerful transformations. And if you're navigating change or chasing purpose, then you're in the right place. All right, so this is starting it, but this isn't really starting the podcast, but it is starting. So this will be in the recording.
Oh,
Disclaimer. Not all of that. This right
oh,
here.
okay.
This is what I'm. This. You're like, no.
Oh, you're playing tricks on me, Lee. That's not nice.
No,
We're
no.
supposed
It
to
wasn't that bad
establish
anyway.
trust now. You're supposed to warn me.
Look, they said the key to the heart is through comedy and laughter. I got you laughing. So
we're good.
So
And you
there
know
we
what?
go.
I don't take myself seriously whatsoever. So we're good.
Good. Now, this question that I'm going to ask you really quick, you can either answer it right now or later on towards the end or anywhere in the podcast episode whenever you want.
Okay, I can interrupt you and say, by the way, the answer is well.
You can be like, yeah, I thought about it, and here's the
I'm here.
So here it is, but I think you're going to have the answer already. What are you doing today that your future self will thank you for?
Oh, that's very easy. I'm being me.
Oh. And what's being me mean?
It means not being afraid of, looking silly and or stupid and making a mistake and admitting that you don't know what the heck you're doing sometimes. And because if you're not willing to do that, then life is going to be harder than it should be. So if I, make a boo-boo, I say, oh, here I go. I goofed off again and let's see where this leads.
You just own it. I love it. That's a great answer. Just being you.
Just being me.
You're being you.
I've always been very much what you see is what you get. I think it comes from, I don't want to say, sometimes I'll come across like I truly don't give a shit. And that's not true. The things that I care about, I truly care about. But honestly, honey, the things that I don't care about, oh my God, you can't wake me up for. So I think that I am naturally built that way, and that helps me. That helps me to I don't have enough time and I don't have enough mental space to deal with crap I don't care about, so I just don't.
Yeah.
And it never has anything to do with the people though. Because you can not care about something and still care about the person.
That's a great distinction. Yeah, there's so many things because people, they talk about the work that they're doing or the, steps, but you're just you. I'm being me. I love that. Perfect answer. All right.
Thank you.
So let's really, you ready to get into it?
I was born ready, honey.
I know you were. All right, Isabella.
When you look back in hindsight, everything is 20/20. In hindsight, we make mistakes, we're learning from it. In hindsight, yesterday and your tomorrow. In hindsight, is so much clearer now.
What happens when the leadership skills you spent years developing are suddenly overlooked in the civilian world? Isabel Fortin faced that reality after transitioning from the Royal Canadian Air Force to the corporate sector. Trained at the prestigious Royal Canadian Leadership School, she quickly realized that the every person for themselves mentality in business stifled growth and collaboration. And in this episode, we'll dive into how Isabel transformed that challenge into an opportunity, founding her own business to build a culture where leadership puts people first. Welcome to Hindsight. I'm Lee Jones, your host. So, Isabel.
Yes, dear.
We're going to jump right into it.
Love it.
When you left the Royal Canadian Air Force and entered the corporate world, what was the biggest cultural shock that you experienced?
Well, the biggest, even though it was the first and it was the biggest, it took me a long time to understand how exactly it was different. And it was truly about leadership. And the first the first job I got as a civilian was customer service for household finance. So literally taking calls from people most of the time that have been paying a card for years and years and years and years, and the amount never goes down, and because they're only paying the minimum payment, and they don't know because maybe they didn't have that education, or it wasn't, well explained back then. So at the time, I don't know if household finance still exists, but at the time here in Canada, it was, if you went to a store and buy something, pay later, it was household finance. They were the people or the company that were financing all these things. So we'd get a lot of angry calls, rightfully so, saying, "Hey, listen, I've been paying the stereo for like 13 years. I no longer have it. How come why am I still paying for it?" So,
That's crazy.
yeah. And so the first civilian boss I had, and through no fault of her own, by the way, I am not blaming the individual, was extremely bad at leadership. I mean, extremely bad. And at the time, in my late 20s, I just thought she was bad, and that was it. It never dawned on me that it could be something else. And I didn't think she was a bad person. She was just a bad leader. And then I got to my second civilian job 6 months after, and like, that person isn't any better. But I stayed there like 2-3 years, and then I was recruited for something else, and I went to the third civilian job and spent 7 years there, and that supervisor isn't any better either. And I go, what the heck is happening? And it took me all this time, like a better part of a decade, to realize that it was a lack of leadership training. So what seems to happen in the corporate world that doesn't happen in the military is they'll take the best sales rep and say, "Hey, this person knows how to sell. We were going to put this person in charge of the sales department." But selling is a skill, and leadership is another set of skills. And there are skills that overlaps, but they don't all overlap. But in the corporate world, they don't teach leadership. And the other thing is, in the corporate world, they confuse leadership and management, because leadership sounds more important. But management is something, and leadership is another thing. But they confuse the two. I'm in charge of. No, you're not in charge of anything. You're in charge of taking care of the people in your charge. That's the job.
That's it.
So that was the big, even though it wasn't an overnight aha, it was still, that was the biggest clash, was these people don't know their ass from their elbow. What the hell? But it wasn't their
Hey, what do you call
fault.
it?
It wasn't their fault. They
Where,
don't
where?
know. You don't know what you don't know. Like,
Yeah.
I thought my significant other is from Argentina, and although I've been to, Spanish speaking countries before, I thought my Spanish was really, really good until I met him. And then I go to say something, and I'm not asking una cerveza por favor anymore, and I actually want to say something of substance, and he was looking at me going, "Yeah, would you say that in French, please?" But you don't know what you don't know. So it wasn't their
Yeah.
fault. It really wasn't. And honestly, looking back, they were doing an exceptional job with what they knew.
I love it. I love it. Hey, where are you calling in from today, by the way?
Montreal, Canada.
Oh, you're in Canada. Okay.
Yeah.
Not too far away. All right.
Where
All
are
right.
you, Lee?
Oh, I'm in
Oh,
California.
okay. Well, it's, 3-hour
Southern
difference.
Well, I was thinking, I was, well, it was the Royal Canadian, so never mind.
Yeah, Californians love us, and right now the rest of the U.S., well, that depends who you ask. But let's not get into
it's like
that.
we're on an island. It's like we're on an island over here. I don't know what's going on anymore.
Yeah.
But all right, like you said, let's get back on task.
Yes.
Leadership in the military is built on structure and teamwork, right? How did you adapt those principles to the business world, and where did you face most of the resistance at?
Oh, well, my favorite when people ask me who's the leader that needs you the most, I always have the same answer. It's the leader that's never going to hire me because they think they're great at it, and they're
Mm,
not. So, where do I get the most resistance? Well, from these people, right? The ones that, command and control works, and it's always worked, and it's been like that for X numbers of years, and it's gonna continue being like that. So but I don't knock my head on the same rock. I learn, I let go. You do do the best you can with what you know, and I'll go my merry way. Um, I think the biggest pushback I get is when I start working with a leader and I talk to them about adaptability, and I say, well, you're going to have to adapt your communication and your leadership to each and every individual. And they go, no, that's not possible. And I go, well, not only is it, but you're going to have to, because that's what human-centered leadership is. And that's why you hired me. But I'm going to help you, and I'm going to support you and walk you through this. And the reason I'm getting pushback is because they think that it's going to be way more complicated than it is actually going to be. Because I can't change my communication. I mean, I communicate the way I communicate. Well, when you start with that, you're, 1 foot in the ground. And that's the root of the problem. Is if I want something from you, like right now, if I wanted something from you, I have to appeal to how you communicate because I want something from you.
absolutely.
And the way we speak with other humans is very arrogant. So, do you have a horse? No, right? You don't have a horse, Lee? Okay. Do you have a cat? Okay.
No.
Do you have a dog? Okay.
Yes.
So, when you met your dog, did you impose on the dog to learn English? No, you adapted your communication to the way he understands the world. Yet, with another human, we impose our way of communicating to the other person. And that's why I say communication as humans, we're arrogant with other humans.
Yeah.
But when you're in the leadership position and your role is supposed to be support and help and coach and train and guide your employees or your team members, you're supposed to adapt to them and give them what they need because that's the job. And when you climb the ladder, you're not supposed to work less. You're supposed to work more. So, but that transition period between doing it the whole fashioned way, which is command and control, which doesn't work, it's been proven,
Hmm.
and switching to human centered, there's a chaotic period there, and that's where people push me back a little bit, and that's okay. I can take it.
That's the second time in a couple of days that I had, and command and control it doesn't
It
work.
doesn't. It really doesn't. It has never worked.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, no, good, good, good.
Trying
Uh,
not to poke my own eye with my spoon. It tastes skills, my
All right.
friend.
All right. So fellow veteran. So I want to appeal to you for our other fellow veterans. And I believe that many veterans struggle with translating their military skills into the civilian workforce. And what advice would you give to someone who's facing that challenge?
Oh, that's not easy. It really isn't. And
Yeah.
for anybody listening out there that is going through this right now, first of all, my heart goes out to you. I thank you for your service. And regardless of whose country you served or what country that is, um, it takes special kind of humans to serve their country and be willing to die for it. And it's not recognized in the corporate world because they don't understand it. Again, it's not their fault. They don't, it takes a vet to understand another vet. So I'd say, for the love of God, connect with veterans that have done it before, to, if in the least, they at least listen to you. At least. Because the military it seems to impact every aspect of our lives. It's not a job, it's a way of life. And when you lose it, or when you choose to leave, which was my situation, you don't know yet how much of an impact, because it's kind of part of our identity. So seek help, seek a support clan. It doesn't have to be like a formed group or anything like that, but seek veterans that can at least listen to you, and that you will feel heard and understood, because that's really, really important.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I
I
like
was
that.
kind of
I
lucky
like that.
because I come from a military family. Both my parents served, and when I joined, my brother was an Air Force pilot, and he discharged, um, honorarily discharged before I did. So he knew what I was going through.
He walked
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
So he helped me, and it was a safe space for me to just talk about the military all day long, right? When I was with him. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it. What did you do
I was
in the military? What was your
it's an administrative position. I was TCON, so it's called training control. And so my job was to make sure that everybody in the squadron had their training, their trade training and leadership, if they were to be promoted to a leadership position, and and preparing everything, booking them on the course, preparing their claim, their flight, their hotel, their like everything that had to do with training, and telling Major so and so, okay, you're due for your recurring training on this particular aircraft or this particular field. Or so that was my job. I had 900 people to follow up on their careers and see where they were on their training advancements. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Hey, so training obviously is a big part of teams. And from your perspective, like what are the biggest mistakes that companies make when it comes to team building?
No, they don't offer any.
Mm, some do.
And some, that's true. That I can't argue with that. When you're right, you're right, Lee. Um, some do, and it's the right kind of training, and some do thinking it is the right kind of training, and it's not. And I'll give
There
you an
you go.
example, and
Yeah.
please understand, if you're in the audience and that's what you do for a living, I am not bashing what you do. I'm
Right.
just not necessarily seeing the value. So I meet a lot of teams where, oh yeah, we went mountain climbing, or we went to do this, and the team building days or exercise or workshops or whatever is still to this day, very often linked to sports. We're going to go rock climbing, or we're going to go hike this mountain together, and we're going to do, and honestly, you're pissing people off, because it's supposed to create group dynamic, and people are going to come together and support one another and see one another outside of work, which that is absolutely phenomenal. And
Yeah.
see their human side, and the intention behind is extremely valuable. That's why I'm saying that's what you're in the audience, you're listening to me. I'm not bashing what you do at all, because the thought behind it is absolutely great. It's the execution, because I'm not sporty. I really am not. I owned the gym for a decade, and I'm not sporty. So I've never been in my entire life, I'm 53 years old, and I've never been able, not once in my entire life, to hit a goddamn baseball with a baseball bat. I have never succeeded at that. So if you bring me, rock climbing or, on the mountain, or you're trying to make me do yoga and, poses I've never been able, all you're doing to me personally is you're humiliating me. And I feel like the young gun I was in grade 2, 3, 4, and I was the last pick for softball. And that's what you're tapping into. So, do
Yeah.
I feel good about this exercise? No. Right? So, and most people that this kind of activity is very appealing are the jocks that are very good at sports, because it's tapping into
Mm-hmm.
what they're naturally good at, and the overperforming people. And what you're creating is a bigger divide. So, team building is about all individuals and not only the ones that can climb a goddamn mountain. And that's where people go
Yeah.
wrong.
That's a good point. I had a friend of mine, he's a veteran as well, and he asked me to come and speak to his team one time when they were out on a like a team retreat or something like that. So I went out one day and they did some exercises, and he really incorporated some of the things from the military that weren't sports related. Like, he bought a whole bunch of MREs, meals ready to eat, and there was a competition. You pick a MRE, and they had these people teamed up, and they had to make whoever made the best meal. Because
Oh,
when we're out there, like, we're mixing and
God,
matching
yeah.
MREs trying to get the ultimate meal, because you're eating them every freaking day, right?
And they're
So we had
disgusting.
something like that. We took, yeah, they're not. They're not. They got a lot
Well, I,
better. They
I
got a
was
lot
just
better. When I
gonna
first
say
came
maybe
in,
that's just in my memory because I've been out for a long time.
yeah. When I first came in 19, I can imagine the 70s and the 60s, but in the 90s, they only had 9 flavors, right? And if you're out there for a month, that's all you're eating. It's, neither here nor there. But he had one of those type of things, and I could see the engagement and the interaction and the teams trying to formulate these meals from the MREs. Very creative from my perspective.
Yeah.
And then we were
Actually,
at the
I'm gonna
beach.
steal
I
that
mean, we're
idea.
yeah.
Thank you for that.
And then the last one, we were at the beach because it is
Yeah.
California, and we had these balls, and we had to create a sort of um I don't know what it's called, but like you had to dig in the sand and create this lane or whatever, and you had all these chairs, and bottom line was you had to get this ball to go through the sand and into the water.
Mm.
And so it took teamwork to navigate the levels, the heights, and all the different curves and stuff like that to get it there the fastest. And then somebody had to go out to the water, get water poured in the thing. It was really creative, and it wasn't really sporty because the things, they really took creativity and mind work.
Mhm.
It wasn't like who can run to the end of the beach the
Yeah.
fastest and come
Yeah.
back. It wasn't nothing like
Yeah.
that. So I thought that was really good, and I learned that day. I went to do one thing, but I actually learned some ways on team building,
Yeah.
and it looked like they were very engaged and having a good time doing it. So
Yeah, they have
yeah,
stories after, right? They have something.
they
Oh,
have.
remember
Oh
when we
yeah,
did this? And then, and they see one another in a different light too. So anything,
yeah.
I think that any team building exercise has to be fun. That's the first thing, because fun is the glue that brings them together, but fun for everybody. So, and the goofier the
Mm.
better. At the end, for me,
All
at
right,
the
so
end of an exercise, everybody has to come out where either they laughed at somebody or they were laughed at, and hopefully
hmm,
both, because sometimes it does take both.
yeah.
So,
And I tell you what, another interesting thing was, like, how when you gamify things, you wanna place first or whatever, you want to win, and everyone is win, win, win. But at the end of it, what was amazing was, yeah, there was a winner, but the people were looking at how the winner actually did what they
yeah,
did to make it, the ball get to the water
yeah,
quicker. It was like it was great.
yeah.
I'm gonna call him up today and just tell him, hey, that was a couple years ago, and that really impacted me. I never told him, you know what I'm saying, how amazing that experience
So
was.
you're gonna
I
tell
think I'm
him,
gonna call him
okay,
today.
so I met this French Canadian chick today, and goodness gracious, she made me think of you.
Got me reminiscing.
Sorry, I got something in my eye.
Oh man. Hey, so all right, so we talked about this earlier, but you believe in putting humans first in leadership. What does that look like in practice, and how does it impact team performance from your
Oh,
perspective?
it increases engagement, it increases productivity,
Yeah.
efficiency, bottom line, it increases everything. It decreases stress and turnover and so how do you apply it? Well, it's just developing human skills. That's it. I don't call them
Yeah.
soft skills because there's nothing soft about being vulnerable. There's nothing soft about saying to a direct report, yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. There's nothing soft about that. You have to have like balls to admit that you don't have the answer. But you know what? We're going to sit down and I have faith that we're going to come up with a solution. It's going to be the right one. And the best way to gain trust is to give it. So stop being a helicopter parent to your team. If you're going to give them a task, get the hell out of the way and watch them do it. It was an interview on BBC. Richard Branson was asked, okay, so how do you take care of your clients? And he said, oh, I've never taken care of any of my clients. I take care of my people. They take care of my clients.
Mm.
And that's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. So your job as a leader is to take care of the individual. So ask them, of course, if you have 100 people as direct reports, first of all, the organization is failing.
Needs to be
But
restructured. Yeah, it's too many.
but if you have even 20 direct reports, meet one per day for 15 minutes in their office and not in yours. And if they don't have an office and they work in a cubicle or on the floor of a shop or whatever, bring them for coffee to the cafeteria. Make sure you're alone with them and ask them how they're doing on a human level, not business. And once they start talking, shut the hell up. It's not about you. Shut up. And leaders, we haven't done the CF talking a lot, like I'm doing now. They talk, they talk and talk and talk. It's not about you. It's about them. And if you don't have a good memory, right? And once you're done with that meeting, write down what they said. Their baby sister is waiting for a diagnosis for cancer, or they think they found funky cells in her breast. Take a note. And the next time you meet that person in a week or two, depending on how many people that are your direct reports, read the note before so you know to ask, hey, did your sister get her test results? And just,
Yeah.
it's about them. Give them the space. And the first few times it's going to be awkward. And some people are just going to have verbal diarrhea and tell you all about everything. And some of them are just going to sit there and tell you a joke. And that's fine. That's okay, because at least they shared a laugh with you. And start with that. That's the easiest damn thing to do. Is care for real about your people, about the human doing the job. Don't ask them what they're working on and how's that going and when am I going to get that report. There's time for that after. But during that 15 minutes, just care about the human. That's it.
Love it. Love it. All right, now today it's fast paced in the business world, and we got tariffs and we got craziness. It's getting even faster, getting even
Thank you for
faster.
that.
So in today's fast paced business world, how can leaders foster a sense of unity and collaboration without slowing down productivity?
Well, the honest answer to that is it's going to slow down productivity in the beginning because you're not going to be good at it. Right? It's messy. It's chaotic. When you change your way of being, it's you don't understand where you're at and what you're doing. And, hang on, am I going right or left here? So it slows it down just a little bit for a short amount of time. But when it starts picking up, watch out. Yeah. Because people aren't used to it anymore. I mean, we
Right.
call customer service, we have to press 17 numbers before we speak to a human. We're so used, we're so divided now. And I don't know whether that's the algorithms that just divided us and show us only the like-minded people. Goodness gracious, what a load of crap that is. The biggest asset in someone's life is to have someone disagree with you and love you anyway. I can talk about anything with anybody and still recognize the humanity in the other person. And that's how you create teams. You don't need to both vote for the same party to get along as humans. You just have to recognize that this person is walking this planet doing the best they can. And you don't know what's happening in the background. We just don't know. We don't. I had a client lash out at me last week. And Lee, you and I've been speaking for long enough for you to understand that's not the kind of bullshit I tolerate. And regardless of if they're paying me or not, you don't snap at me, period. And for some godly reason, I kind of went, that's unlike him. So instead of, climbing, on my high horse and say, I will not tolerate blah, 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 I went, are you okay? Because you never speak to me that way. And truth be told, that's not the kind of behavior I tolerate around me, but now I'm going to ask about you. Are you okay? And he was just forced the week before to place his mother in a home because her health was going down really quickly and he was afraid she wasn't going to make it through the week. And that's why he bit my head off. But had I gone what I naturally wanted to do, by the way, I'm not saying I'm the saint here, right? I'm no Mother Teresa, trust me. But had I not caught myself in my desire to respond the way that I naturally would have, it would have escalated, right? And I would have lacked empathy and I wouldn't have been able to help him better. And now knowing that that's what that he was going through, whatever I had to quote unquote teach him that day, whatever was on the schedule that day was no longer important. And I just sat there and I held the space for him to talk. But we don't do that as humans. We forget that the person on the other side is another human doing their damn best. And we don't have to both love pickleball in order to get along. We just have to recognize that the other person is humans and they have a good reason for doing what they do. Even if it's different from you. We lost that and we're losing that.
That's such an impactful and powerful insight.
It's hard.
Because it's either this or that. Yeah. If you're not with me on this one playing pickleball, then you're against me for everything. And that's where we're at.
It's sad.
It's sad.
Yeah, it's sad.
Scary. It's not. Anyway, it doesn't make sense. But that's where we're at.
Yeah.
So this message of, just looking at the person. I tell you what, speaking of Canada.
We hold a grudge, guys. Be warned. We hold a grudge like no tomorrow.
No, this isn't bad. I love BBC stories because, now I think we've caught up, just having Netflix and things like that, stories that are told, they've kind of caught up because you can see other places, right? But I remember a while back, and I can't remember the name of the show, but it was about these this special reaction police force that would go out
Flashpoint.
into Flashpoint. I love that show because it shows the flashpoint. You just talked about it. The guy, kind of jumped out at you, but then it goes back and it talks about how that person got to that place, how this criminal became a criminal who was just a day ago a regular normal person like us, but they got pushed into a certain situation.
Absolutely.
And I bring that up because it's just, that's just life. We're all subjected to these different things and we react differently. But the thing that we don't know is what everybody else is going through.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know what you're going through once we stop this interview, what you're going to be going through. I don't know. I can assume, I can perceive, but the only thing I really know is what I got going on, right? What's going on in my mind.
Yeah.
I don't care, anybody else. That's all you know.
I think
And so to have that story, to have that show, be able to tell those stories, it kind of opened me up. So now I don't just look at the news. I stopped looking at the news and just hearing the headline. Now I'm thinking, damn, what led them to get to that point? It's really unfortunate. And sometimes you don't get the answers, but it just gives you a level of empathy. It gives you, to question instead of judge,
Yeah.
So, anywho, go ahead. What were you going to say? I'm sorry. I love that show, though.
It was a great show. It was actually, to your point, is we are quick to say what's wrong with you when the right question would be, what happened to you? What happened? What happened in your life that made you this way? Like if I think about my personal story, a lot of people see me as, like not giving a fuck and like I can't care less if for the things that I don't care about. You can't force it on me. You can threaten my life to make me care about things I don't care about. And
Right.
people don't, kind of look at what going like, how can you be this nonchalant? Right? Because I have a little bit of a nonchalant way about me. I lost my mom. I was 5. I know how life ends. I know it firsthand. She was 36. It's like me dying 17 years ago, right? So I look at life and I go, no. First of all, I don't know how long I got. And second of all, the things, not people, the things that I don't care about, I got no time for. Because this life ends. So if you don't know this about me and you want to sit in judgment of how nonchalant I come across, well, then you're missing the point. But truth be told, Lee, it's not a secret. It's not something I hide, but it's not something, that I say when I introduce myself. Oh, hi, I am Isabel Fortin. I'm a leadership coach and my mom died when I was 5. I don't say that to people.
Right.
So
Right.
people can, look at me just at a glance and judge the way that I live my life. Again, don't give a shit. But if they dig just a little bit, they find out what's behind it. Well, this life might end. I thought for sure I was going to die at 36. So this is gravy. This is gravy. So if it isn't fun, even my work, if it isn't fun, I'm not there. With my partner, if it isn't fun, I'm not there. I'm not there. You don't get to complicate my life and you don't get to piss me off too often. And vice versa, because if I ask or if I quote unquote demand it from other people, then I have to give it too. Right? So we ask the wrong question. It's not what's wrong with you. It's what made you this way. And you're right. Flashpoint was an excellent show. So great.
Sorry. I had to throw some Canadian something in there.
You're
Right?
sweet.
Hey,
Thank you. I
and matter of
appreciate that.
fact, And actually, more, when I got out of the military, when I transitioned out of the military, the company that hired me first, I was hired by a Canadian um, national. So, but he had his own reasonings, you know. He had his own he had Marines and Air Force and the Navy, and he just wanted to complete the package. I was that Army guy.
We need a grunt, man. We need grunt. You guys do the dirty work. We love it. Do you know the joke?
I tell you what,
Do you know the joke
what's that?
of the reaction between an Army guy, a Navy guy, and an Air Force guy in front of the cockroach? Have you ever heard that?
No,
Okay.
no, go
So
ahead.
there's a cockroach and in a tent, and the Army, he sees the cockroach and he goes, okay, so I'm going to kill the cockroach. It's good protein. I'm going to, throw it in the meal and eat it. And it's going to be great. And then the Navy guy finds a cockroach in the tent and they go, cockroach, what the hell am I going to do with that? So he kills the cockroach and doesn't do anything with that. And then the Air Force guy, finds
Here
the
we go.
cockroach in his tent, and the first reaction is he calls room service and say, yeah, can you tell me why there's a tent in my room?
Yeah, the Air Force, they got it good. Oh, they got it good.
We don't like to
They
suffer.
got it good. And I tell you, it's funny. We make all these jokes, inner service jokes, but we all respect each
Yeah.
other's roles. You know
And
what
we
I'm
all
saying? And
have
that's the
one.
beauty of it.
Yeah, and we all have one, and we
Yeah,
all it's interconnected. We need one
absolutely.
another to be there. Yeah.
Because we talk about the Marines, and it's like, you dumb rocks, but but I mean, it's all in fun. You know what I mean? It's weird because I'm in the Army and I retired. My last 6 years in the Army, I was stationed on a Marine base. Right. So it was good times. Though it was good times. I had a good experience. I mean, it was in California, Southern California.
Oh,
So
so you was very
it made
chill.
for a good time. Yeah, yeah. They didn't bother us because we was the only Army thing that was on that, so they didn't fool with us. They didn't know. But anyway, no, but we always appreciate everybody's, because when you pin down and you need air support,
Yep.
you're looking for the Air Force. When you need somebody to just run through it, an obstacle, you got the Marines.
Yeah.
So the Navy cleans up the water, whatever they do. All right, enough of that stuff. Hey, but what inspired you to take the leap and start your own
Oh, the
business?
worst boss I ever had. Yeah, seriously, that it's a true story. So,
Yeah.
again, you can tell I'm hot-blooded, and the last job, like working for a paycheck that I had, he was a miserable human being. And again, I don't know his story, so I'm trying not to sit in judgment, but as a boss, he was a CEO. He was, as far as money was concerned, extremely, extremely successful. I think he had made his first million before he was 30 in the 1980s, $1 million in the 1980s. So
Yeah,
maybe, I
that's
don't say,
different.
I'd guess, I don't know, 50 million now. Um,
Yeah.
and he was, I mean, in the 1980s here, you could buy a house for 30 grand, right? So but he was a narcissist and manipulative, and he would cheat everybody, his employees, his suppliers, his clients. The clients would pay for quality XYZ, and he would, minimize that quality, but not enough so that they would realize it. And, so it was just, he was a bad, 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 bad boss. And long story short, he had asked me to sacrifice my Labor Day weekend to go save a client. That was a 5-hour drive from my house. But telling me that I was a sales rep, but telling me that I was going to have that client, that it was going to become mine after that. And a month and a half later, when came time to pay me for their order that we shipped, it was nowhere to be seen on my commission check. So I went to his office and I said, "Sir, there seems to be a mistake on my commission check." He says, "No, there's no mistake." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, no, you know, this," and he looked at the report and this and that. And I said, "Yeah, but what about client so-and-so?" He says, "Oh, no, that's not your client. That's a house account." I said, "Well, actually, no, it's not, because you asked me to sacrifice my Labor Day weekend to go save him," which I did, telling me I was gonna, it was gonna become my account. He says, "Oh, no, I was asking you for a favor." And in that particular moment, I snapped. I didn't become angry, or I didn't scream, because I try not to scream, but I said, "Oh, is that so?" I said, "Well, okay. If that's the way it is, I quit." He said, "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "Well, what's unclear about what I just said?" And I left. And my house was about a half hour drive from that particular job. And on the way home, I went, "What the fuck did I just do?" And the furthest from this place I was, like physically driving away, the clearer the vision became for me, because what he had shown me, and I thank him to this day, what he had showed me is you can be bad at managing people, bad at obviously leadership, a bad business person, a bad businessman, and all around narcissist, and still, as far as money was concerned, be successful. Because at that time in my life, I thought being an entrepreneur was a God-given talent, and I was sure I didn't have it. And it never had dawned on me before that moment that I could learn it. But driving away from this guy, I thought, well, if he succeeded, there's no way in hell I'm failing. It's impossible. It's like he gave me clarity in my abilities. And that's the day I became an entrepreneur, and I have never looked back. That's 2 decades now. And I still think
That's a great
he's alive. I
story.
still thank him to this day, because it was his bad leadership that made me a leadership coach.
Wow.
Yep.
Always, you talk about entrepreneurship and God-given talent and stuff like that. This is my own personal views. I look at super successful people, money-wise. Let's make that distinction. And I'm always curious, like, what is hard for me? You say you look at people first. I look at people first as well. And what's hard for me is the idea of needing to have to step on somebody else to achieve your perceived goals. Right. And so I look at certain people and I think, what decisions that they had to make? And I don't know. They could have made all ethical, great decisions and took care of everybody and was elevated based off of their, karma, and they just put them in the right place. I just don't believe that that's the case, and I'm not judging anybody because they are successful and they have reached a certain level. But I just think that's something that I lack. You know what I mean? Just needing to step on someone to elevate yourself.
Yeah.
And I always wonder like how that feels. Like as a soldier, and I'm not knocking anybody, but I think about when we went to Iraq. And you go and you do your job and you look at the statistics of all the people that were killed, mostly on our Iraqi side, a few on our side, well, a lot on our side. And it's like we had to kill all these people, bottom line, for money. You know what I mean? For someone to get for someone to achieve a goal of theirs. And here's an idea. And this is all it's going to take is us going and invading this place. And and doing what we got to do, and we'll lock in these contracts, right? And that bothers me. It bothers me. And I always wonder, and I'm just speaking out, this is hindsight. So I'm looking back on certain things, like I'm having you do. And what do you think about that? And obviously you got your own experiences and stuff. And I know you say put people first. Does that feel challenging,
Yes.
to you? And you can answer that quickly or however you want
Well,
to.
yeah, it is challenging, but there's something in what you just said. There's something. Okay, so out of the world's population, between 3 and 5% of human beings are sociopath. So that's what we call the dark triad, our narcissist, a sociopath, and I can never remember the third. Sorry. So naturally, people who do not have the capability of feeling empathy, that's period. They don't have that connection in their brain. The wires aren't there. It's not their fault. The wires aren't there. In CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, the amount of sociopath, so 3 to 5% in the regular population, the amount goes between 6 and 10%. So that means these people that are sociopath, the 3 to 5% of the world's population, make it. There's a higher number of these people that make it to being the CEO of large corporations. And that kind of explains why they don't care what happens to the other people.
It's a good
They
point.
don't care what happens to the
It's a great
employees.
point.
They don't care what happens. They don't care that they need to go to war to get what they want and go from, $100 billion to $200 billion because they want the second
I know.
$1 billion, second
Yeah.
$100 billion. So they don't care. They
Yeah.
don't have that ability. So it doesn't justify anything, but it certainly explains it a little bit.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Good context. Good context. All right. So we went a little longer than through my talking and not listening. Hey, but where can the people connect with you and learn more about your work?
2 ways. The first one is on LinkedIn. If you're listening to this audio, my name is Isabelle Fortin. There's a bunch of us on LinkedIn. Take the one with the purple hair. She's the one that matters because I made it on purpose. On my profile, I have purple hair. And on my website, the website is againsttheordinary.org because I am against ordinary leadership. So that's how you get a hold of me.
All right. I love it. Hey, you were awesome, Isabelle. Thank you for being my special guest today on Hindsight, the podcast. And we've covered some powerful insights today on leadership, teamwork, and the importance of building a people-first culture. And Isabelle, thank you for sharing your journey from the military to entrepreneurship. And some of the lessons you learned, we didn't get too deep into it, but some of the lessons that you learned along the way. And if today's episode resonated with you, the audience, the listeners, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and tune in for more inspiring conversations on Hindsight, the podcast. And until next time, keep growing, keep leading, and always strive to be more. Thank you so much, Isabelle.
Thank you for having me, Lee. It was a great conversation.
Hey, absolutely. Talk to you soon. Hey, thanks for joining me here on Hindsight, the podcast. I'm your host, Lee Jones. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I know I did. And while I have you here, why don't you take your mouse, go over and click on that subscribe button. No, not right there. Over to the right. No, down, right there. Boom. Thank you. Now, thank you for subscribing to Hindsight, the podcast. I'm your host, Lee Jones.